And we are back for yet another segment here on Monday Night Talk. And not sure if some of you folks are aware, and not especially in the fantastic town of Pembroke, but tomorrow night is the annual town meeting. And I believe that one of the top conversations that will be taking place on the floor of town meeting will be about a project that I think has been in the works for some time. And when I say some time, I'm not talking like a year or two. I think it's been something that has been talked about for many years. Joining us right now to talk about why you should consider voting for a community center at town meeting tomorrow night. We have Peter Brown, of course, you know him from Tiny and Sons Glass, Vice Chair of the Pembroke Chamber of Commerce. And then we have Andrew Sullivan. He's a local business owner as well, president and owner of Protecto Wire. Gentlemen, welcome to Monday Night Talk. Well, Peter, welcome back. Andrew, a hearty welcome to the radio program.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. And well, Peter, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. There should be more fanfare. And let's not forget, Peter is a premium and proud sponsor of Monday Night Talk.
That is correct.
And we appreciate your support, and we appreciate both of you for talking about something that can be very instrumental for the community moving forward if it is not only approved by a vote tomorrow night, but also let's not forget that later this week, Saturday, that you have to vote for it during the annual town election. Is that correct, Peter?
That's correct. Tomorrow night is very important.
Andrew, if you will, give me your thoughts on what made you so interested and so supportive of wanting to have a community center built.
Well, gosh, it's quite a long story. I'll try to abbreviate as best I can, but I've been in Pembroke for 56 years now, soon to be 57. And, as a child growing up on High Street, we would scurry through the backwoods up to the existing community center site. And, I just spent my youth growing up around the building we're talking about today. So, I've been around it, and I've been in town for many, many years. And it was probably about 5 years ago. My daughter and I were signed up for town basketball and went into the facility, which I hadn't been in many years. And I was really just dismayed to see the condition of the building. And I started inquiring what was going on with it, and approached the select board. And I had learned there had been several committees over the years, one in 2006 and one in 2011, that studied the grounds and what to do with it. And they appointed me chair to start another committee to revisit it and study it. And we did that over 3 years. That brought us to this point today.
There are some who feel that us coming out of a pandemic we should not be so quick to want to move forward with a project like this. What would you say to those people, Andrew?
Well, we've all been affected by this terribly, and it's just such a breath of fresh air to be looking at the other side of it as we start to climb out of it. And I think this is the kind of project we can really wrap our arms around with and celebrate post-COVID. And it's just the timing. I think things are aligned as far as costs and needs, and bond rates in particular are historic low rates. There's been a lot of talk about construction cost, materials have escalated, but there's there was a new report in the Wall Street Journal the other day, and lumber prices are falling fast, and futures have declined 24 of the last 16 days. So we are starting to see a correction in some construction material costs. And there's been another thing, another phenomenon that's happened. We've worked closely. Bargman, Hendry and Archetype is the firm that the town allocated monies for a phase 1 study. So really, they're the experts behind all the work. Our committee is made up of 7 volunteers, but the architects have really been quarterbacking this for us. They've built over 25 community centers in the state of Mass, so they really know what's going on. And they've been going to bid on projects. There's been, 15 months of no activity with COVID. So contractors are very aggressively bidding municipal work, and they're finding factually bids are coming in very low on projects right now. So if we're able to capitalize on this now, we're actually ahead of the curve for municipal projects that have been postponed and will start to ramp up again.
Peter, I would ask you is what do you feel are some of the things that are being distributed for in regards to information that have caught your attention and that you feel is important to at least sharing with a larger audience who may not be aware of some of the positives to building a new community center?
Well, one of the biggest things is that if you drive through downtown and just look at the rec center that's there, it's an eyesore. And the biggest thing with the town, as far as moving into the future, is that the downtown process, in both state and federal, to get grants, you have to show that you're doing some sort of revitalization of the downtown. And when you go into the center, the rec center is one of the biggest eyesores there is, and it needs to be addressed. And there's people out there that think that we could, repair it, rebuild it, restructure it. And we've already gone through that whole process at least 5 times since 2000. And the realization is it needs to be replaced. And one of the biggest things as far as businesses go is that it helps the downtown. When you get downtown revitalization and get people interested in downtown, you make it easier to access, especially the amenities and for the elderly and the youth. It draws people to town to buy homes.
Peter, what would you say are some, other than being a gathering place, what are some of the other positive attributes to building a new community center?
Well, as we saw in COVID, the biggest issue we had was with schooling. When schools were closed and we're doing, home schooling from home, the biggest problem that people had was they still had to go to work. There has to be somewhere for the kids to go, and that's where the rec center comes into play. On the elderly aspect of it, it's going to be a community center for the elderly, where they can use it for a pickleball, meeting space, all of the above. Veterans Administration is also going to be there, and there's also going to be some sort of business aspect to it. So, and in the town green, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we do in the center between the parades, the Memorial Day parades, the Arts Festival in August. All sorts of things that could come into play when that is revitalized.
You're just tuning in. We're speaking with 2 local businessmen, both of them very passionate about building a new community center. With Peter Brown, not only a president of Tiny and Sons Glass, but he's the vice chairman of the Pembroke Chamber of Commerce, and also is he has roles in other Chamber of Commerce, a big proponent of community, as is Andrew. Andrew, a big proponent of community, president and owner of Protecto Wire. Andrew, the most important thing, while the kids and some folks are like, wow, this is a new space, a lot of the folks who are watching their wallets and their spending are going to say, well, at what cost is this project going to come to me, whether it's my tax bill or as to that much money that is coming out of my wallet?
Well, the time is right cost wise, because the bond rate is one of the biggest factors. At sub 2%, these are historic low bond rates. An increase of 0.5 point in the bond rate drives the overall cost of this project over $1 million. So, the time is right there. As I alluded to earlier, the bidding process is the time's right for that as well. We've estimated the cost for the average household resident at about $130 a year. This is a debt exclusion. It's not an override. This would go away after the term of the loan. So that, that works out to about $10 a month. We've broken it down to less than 36 cents a day. And this is worst case scenario. There's contingencies built into it, over $1 million in owner's contingencies. And another factor here is grants at the state and federal level. We've identified over 3 or 4 grants that align themselves well with this project. Representative Cutler and State Senator Susan Moran both are fully behind this project and ready to go to bat to help us at the state level. So once this hopefully gets approved at town meeting tomorrow night and on the election day, this following Saturday, we can then go to the state and really go hard for these grants that should reduce those overall numbers down. We think there's as much as $2 million in grants available for this project.
And I'm glad that you actually mentioned it, because it was on my notes. A lot of folks don't understand what the difference. You could say it's an override, right? Prop 2.5 override, but the key word you said is debt exclusion, because what happens after so many, depending on how it's bonded out, that comes off the books. And at times, towards the tail end of whatever that debt exclusion is, I believe that it tends to, that the amount that you normally see tends to drop off. I think that's important fact to mention. I will ask you this though: what are some of the other things that opponents of this project are saying that maybe you've heard, but you want to take a moment to provide insight to?
Well, there's a lot of talk about other needs in town, for sure. Our infrastructure townwide is in need of addressing. We've been needing a master plan overall for what's a long-term master plan for the town of Pembroke. That's in the works currently as well. So the public safety aspect, police and fire both need new facilities. They, just like the community center, are working out of very old buildings that need to be updated. So there's a committee being formed and that's studying the public safety building opportunities, and there are plans to get that committee up and running. And they're probably 2 years out from a viable plan for a public safety building. Our plans are shovel ready. We're ready to do this now. The town manager, select board, and advisory committee are all fully behind this. They've studied it with us. These are our town leaders. The time to do this is now. Let's get this going. It will be a catalyst in downtown Pembroke. And in a couple years, we'll be able to tackle the public safety building. There is debt coming off the books from the school that are identified. So we don't think it'll be much more of a taxed impact for a public safety building. So we can do it all. And if it's thought out properly, we are ready to go. It is so overdue to tackle this community center project. The existing building was built in 1938. It is in disrepair. It is such a sad state. 30 acres in the middle of our town. We have a really well vetted out plan here that's been studied by everyone over 3 years. It's been a very transparent process. So we're ready to go. We just want the residents to get a chance to vote on it, let their voices be heard, and hopefully we can move forward and really get Pembroke going in a good direction here.
Peter, we're about ready to wrap up our conversation here, but is there anything we have not mentioned during this conversation, but you feel is the best way to punctuate the end of this long sentence that has been the discussion about the community center?
I'm going to segue what Andrew said, is that this is shovel ready. And Andrew has spent a lot of his personal time and personal money into getting this ready to go. And we're people with the public safety aspect of it. We're all for it. We agree with everything that they're saying. We're actually forming the committee to help this process. But if we can get this going, get this voted in and this started, this brings attention to Pembroke. this helps Pembroke get grants, get money, and entice people to invest in Pembroke. And this will help us in the future projects that Pembroke has. So it's a no-brainer to vote for this tomorrow night and Saturday.
I'll ask you each, and if you could just give me kind of I'm asking probably for the impossible. It's almost like when WATD does a political forum and we do the lightning round. And so it's kind of almost like a sub lightning round where you might have 1 to 2 sentences here. In your opinion, why is community forever, Peter?
Well, it was what my father used to always say was like, Howard Johnson's had 57 flavors of ice cream. And this is what it's all about, is we have all these different people that need to be taken care of and they need to be included. And that's what community is all about.
Same with you, Andrew. This is a Monday Night Talk lightning round question. Why is community forever, in your opinion?
Well, community is forever, buildings are not. And this 1938 old school building, it's time to replace it. It needs to be, there's remediation to happen there, and our town deserves better. Our seniors deserve better, in particular, over 4,000 seniors over the age of 65 working out of a very small council on aging building. The growing senior population need to come out of isolation, and they need to be interactive in a great welcoming facility.
Gentlemen, I want to thank both of you for joining me and at least sharing this information on the eve of town meeting. Peter, was this something you wanted to mention, or are we kind of, is our business done here for the evening?
If people want to see what other towns are doing, go to Duxbury, go to Marshfield, go to Hanson, go to Situate. And those towns are way ahead of Pembroke right now, and we need people to focus on Pembroke.
Excellent. Again, we have been joined by 2 passionate businessmen, community members, Andrew Sullivan, president and owner of Protecto Wire, Peter Brown, Tiny & Sons Glass, vice chair of the Pembroke Chamber of Commerce. Gentlemen, the best of luck, not only tomorrow night, but if all is successful in the floor town meeting, let's hope that the vote on Saturday basically will make this a done deal. So best of luck, gentlemen, and best of luck to the town of Pembroke.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you for having us.
You got it. We're going to step aside. That concludes the first hour of Monday Night Talk. When we come back, we got a great guest coming up. State Auditor Suzanne Bump is joining us, and we can talk about a couple of audits that she recently done. One of them done on the Massachusetts State Lottery Commission. That's coming up in just a few moments, right here on 95.9 WATD.